I'm invisible.
You're invisible? Why are you invisible?
I'm a G-H-O-S-T.
Because I'm a G-H-O-S-T. Yes, he had quite a sense of humour. He also used to swear a lot as well. I'm Maurice Grosse, and I'm one of Britain's leading psychic investigators. I'm 76 now, and still on the trail of ghosts and poltergeists. In 1977, I led a team which investigated what is now regarded as the world's most famous poltergeist case, the Enfield poltergeist. It became world headlines at the time, mainly because of the strange, gruff voice that came from a girl called Janet. Hollywood soon got in on the act, and the makers of several box office hits acknowledged a debt to my case in Enfield. I've never been able to forget that voice. He called himself many names, but mostly Bill or Fred. I still listen to the 180 hours of tapes I recorded during the investigation.
Bow, 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 the pub, check you down the street. Merrily, 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 lovely pub to drink. Now f***ing
This voice is coming from an 11-year-old girl. Well, perhaps Guy, perhaps you've got something to say to them.
Yeah. I'd like to know how you make this noise without bashing Janet's vocal cords to pieces. If I do it for half a minute, I get a sore throat.
Goose chasers here.
And we found, on analysis, the voice was not made by the larynx, the voice box, but by the false vocal fold, which is above the larynx. And you only use that when you lose your voice and you talk like that. Well, if you talk like that for more than a couple of minutes, you start getting a sore throat. Talk like that for 5 minutes or so and you're going to start doing damage to your throat. And yet this voice used to speak up to 3 hours at a time. Not continuously, of course, but up to 3 hours at a time without the girl showing any distress at all. Absolutely remarkable. The voice was just part of it. The girl levitated, going from horizontal to vertical in a sixth of a second. Furniture was thrown around the rooms. The house was swarming with journalists. But after 4 days, they were baffled and frightened and called my team for help. A policewoman gave a sworn affidavit of the extraordinary activity she witnessed. Even the ghost chipped in. The death certificate confirmed the truth of what the ghost was saying. Many objects materialized out of thin air. Spoons were bent. Fires broke out spontaneously in the impoverished family's home. The family had to endure practically every known phenomena in a poltergeist case. They were traumatized. They didn't benefit financially and were ostracized by many of their local community. The Enfield poltergeist menaced that family for 18 months. It nearly destroyed their lives. I'm going back to see them for the first time in 20 years. Janet, the girl at the centre of it all, prefers to remain anonymous, but I spoke to her mother and sister. Well, here I am at this famous house in Enfield, and here you see Margaret and her mother, who were very, very involved in this case. You remember the day I first came?
Yes, I remember, Mr. Grosse, and you was on the case ever since then, onwards, and you saw everything and took note and explained to us
You remember when the reporters and journalists were here, how did they carry on?
I could see the fear in some of their faces also, and they probably could sense that we was dead scared and wanted to run out any minute. I know I did. My sister did, I know that.
I remember one of them came in and he explained to me that I'd got a poltergeist in the house. And I said, what on earth's that? And I nearly fainted when he told me. I didn't even know what it was. In fact, I don't think any of us did.
And we couldn't even say the word poltergeist until Mr. Grosse from the psychical research explained how to say poltergeist.
That's me.
and also what it actually meant in, was it German? Was it?
Yeah, poltergeist, noisy
spirit. In the meaning of it.
That,
also, which he explained to us.
What do you say to people who say to you, with you children playing around, what do you say about that?
I'd say that's a matter of opinion. If you haven't experienced it, you're going to say that. But it did really happen.
It upsets me deep down to think that they can't give us an open mind, the ones that just put it down completely. But all I can say to them is I wish they can experience the same thing as what we went through. They certainly wouldn't say it was false or a fake or it was child playing or anything of that kind.
The welfare of people at the centre of poltergeist activity is very important. I believe that most poltergeist activity is actually caused by very high levels of stress. Occasionally you get paranormal entities interacting with us. And this is what I think happened at Enfield. I haven't spent all my years searching for the paranormal. Like everybody else, I had a normal life to lead. When I left school, I was a commercial artist. I did 2 years apprenticeship. You can see on the pictures on the wall, well, actually they are my pictures that I have done. I turned into quite a good commercial artist, in fact. But then the war was looming and I joined the Royal Artillery, super heavy guns. We had to make a hasty retreat back to Dunkirk, when of course thousands of other troops. And we were bombed and blitzed to hell there. It really was rough going. I suppose I was one of the reasonably lucky ones. I got off on a destroyer. I met Betty at a tea dance in Marble Arch. Always very taken with her, right from the word go. And it was on a Sunday, and I met her on the Sunday, proposed to her on the Thursday, and in 10 weeks we were married. Because everybody said at the time, oh, these war marriages, it will never last, it will never last. I don't know, perhaps it won't. I mean, it's only 51 years now, so I suppose I think I can say it lasts. We've had a good life. A good life, that is, until the death of our youngest daughter, Janet, in a road accident. Betty and I believe that Janet tried to contact us after her physical death. You might believe that was just our way of dealing with bereavement, but it was a turning point in my life. I decided to carry out serious research into the paranormal and join the Society for Psychical Research. This is now my psychic HQ. The Society is the world's leading centre for the scientific study of the paranormal. I'm the chairman of the Spontaneous Phenomena Committee. People write to us from all around the country with their strange cases, which we investigate on a non-fee paying basis. Can you recap on who he said was psychologically disturbed?
He said
What
something
name of who was it? Because there's so many names.
That's the covering letter, isn't it?
Yeah, on the covering letter. There's so many people mentioned there.
Yes, I was wondering that.
I spoke in the early 60s and a retired university lecturer.
Well, I think we can dispense with that case then, yeah. We had a letter from a woman in Watford. She claimed her clothes were being severely damaged and sometimes disappearing altogether. Shirley had submitted herself to psychiatric treatment, but there was no explanation. She now keeps her clothes in padlocked cupboards. Only her husband has the keys. In desperation, she contacted our society. Hello, Shirley.
Hello, nice to see you. Hi.
Hello, all right, thank you. Hello, Doggy. Oh, excitement. Hello.
Go in.
Hello. They're wonderful dogs. They're very, very intelligent.
Come upstairs and just let me show you.
You know I'm making a video diary, Phil. You've no objection to us using some of this. We won't use much of it, but some of it you haven't.
No objection at all, Maurice.
Right, OK, thank you. And here the famous padlock wardrobe.
With padlocks on that one. This is mine with the stronger lock on the chain. Again, I don't even touch these normally.
You can't, can you unlock
No, my husband's got the keys. There's only one set and he's got them with him.
Have any shoes or clothes or anything disappeared from that one?
Oh, yeah.
Whilst it's been padlocked up recently?
Yeah. Yes, oh, yeah. In the last few months I've had a shirt from there and a skirt. Sometimes I forget and then I suddenly think, oh, I haven't seen that skirt or whatever. And from the bottom, I mean, my brown boots were actually in that wardrobe when they the box. We actually found the carrier bag in the bottom of that wardrobe.
Now, when you want anything out of there, you have to ask your husband to ask?
If he isn't in, I leave him a note. I had to leave him a note actually last night to leave this skirt and sweater
Well, that's
out.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
Really?
And sometimes he goes out and I have to say,
excuse me laughing, but it seems to be a ludicrous situation.
I don't tell people, I don't say anything to anybody.
Come on, dog, you're the one who's responsible, I'm sure. You are responsible for it. Oh, look at him wagging his tail.
I wish he knew. If that dog could talk, he'd be able to tell me a lot of things.
Yes, I'm sure he would.
Yes.
May I suggest to you that you stop all this padlocking business and get back to a normal life. And if things still disappear, you start to accept it and see then whether it starts to diminish. I think, you see, I think what is happening is that let's assume that it is paranormal activity. I mean, I'll make the assumption it is paranormal activity. By having all these padlocks and bolts and sleeping in the spare room, you are continuing a high-stress situation. Now, if you're continuing this high-stress situation, and if it is paranormal activity, if it is teleportation, the movement of objects, or whatever is happening to the objects, being cut up, so on and so forth, the stress situation is going to make it worse. Remove this stress situation and see what happens. See where, because we've tried everything else. We've tried hospital, we've tried social workers, we've tried psychiatrists, and also we've tried hypnosis with me, and nothing seems to have worked. Well, let's try and get back to a normal state of life where you remove all the bolts and the locks and everything else, and you have complete access and you go back to living as a normal person with your husband.
We have done this once, haven't we?
Yeah, well, do it again.
Yeah?
Do it again. Get back to normal. What I want for Shirley is for her to get back to a normal way of life. I've dealt with hundreds of cases over the years. Most of them involve great personal distress. Visiting people all over the country is fascinating, but very time-consuming. I have to fit everything in with my regular work as an industrial designer and inventor. My latest project is a cost-effective poster machine for use in public places around the world. This is the workshop where I worked on this machine way back in the late 60s. Much later on, I repatented it with all new ideas. It's a very easy machine to work. Posters are hung into the machine. The machine automatically changes the posters. It adjusts itself for any number of posters you'll put in, up to 24. And this lot you see there is going out to New Zealand. The demand for my invention is growing all the time. I now have to make sure it's patented for the international market. That's my big poster machine, the result of many years of hard work. We run out of 4-star. No, I have to go down the road. This morning I was clearing out my workshop, something I don't very often do, and much to my surprise I came across my second invention that I patented after I came out of the army in 1945. For this moulding here and the moulding for the head I had to get a licence. Eventually, after much trouble, I got one, and I made a few hundred of them, and they're quite successful. In fact, the Duchess of York at the time, she bought a couple for her children, and that rather set me off on the inventing trail. I devote much of my time to collecting documents, tapes and photographs which record unexplained events. I hope to leave a solid legacy of evidence behind me. One of my main interests in parapsychology, especially in the last 3 or 4 years, has been the examination of anomalous photographs, that is, photographs that really have no explanation. And here I'm just duplicating them for transparencies for my lectures. This is an ordinary photograph of a group of holidaymakers in the Austrian Tyrol. It was taken with flash, but seconds before this photo was taken, another photo was taken when the flash didn't go off. And this is it. If you can't spot the difference, here it is. An extra person there, quite solid, 15% too big, seated behind the beer glasses. No one knows who she is. One of the world's top experts in detecting fraudulent photographs, Vernon Harrison, has scrutinised the negatives and says they're absolutely inexplicable. As I say, top experts have looked at it, and I am personally convinced that that is an apparition, a real apparition, a solid one. One of the best photographs I think we'll probably ever get. To some people, there's a big problem relating psychic research to my Jewish religion. It's not a problem for me. There are also those who think I'm a bit obsessed with poltergeists and ghosts. But my family know me better. To them, I'm just dad or granddad. My work as an industrial designer and my investigations into the paranormal are a big part of my life. But my family, my friends and my religion are much more important to me than anything else.
Do you remember Jinx and the Misses, Pixie and Dixie? Oh, Misses. They got them as well. We're watching them all, aren't we, Susie?
This is my youngest grandchild.
Yes.
I love it when we get together as a family, but sometimes Betty and I are conscious that Janet isn't here.
You know, sometimes it's hard to remember back all those years, isn't it? She left school.
Yes,
18.
she was born in 53. Janet was born in
53, dear. 53,
yeah.
that I won't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was born in 53.
Actually,
she was always a very strong-willed child. She did what she wanted to do, but she was a little character, you know, even in those days when she was little. She wouldn't be left behind, would she?
No, no, she was a lovely child.
She kept up with the other two, and she was such a tomboy.
I could only remember her as a vital human being, of which she was. I mean, she was a wonderful child, and that's how I wanted to remember her, and that's how we've always remembered her. And as you say, you never get over it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, time helps, but losing a child, especially your youngest child, is...
It doesn't really help. It's just that you get used to what you have to go through,
That's
and
right.
life goes on and other things happen. And
you get used to life.
It recedes, but you never ever forget. And you always feel it.
We were very depressed about it last week.
Very depressed indeed.
Mm-hmm. Happens.
I often wonder what would have happened had she lived. How different our lives would have been. Your life would have been quite different. Do you realise that, don't you?
My life would have been quite different because it was the extraordinary things that happened when she were around about the time she died. The extraordinary psychic thing, what I consider to be psychic, and so did you, that happened that sort of launched me onto this determination to try and find out more about what happens when you die and what psychic research is all about, and that's how it really started me all off. The death of a loved one often sparks off paranormal experiences. I took on a case in Yorkshire where a couple reported that their son, who had died in a road accident, was appearing on their television screen. Off when they took this photograph. Right, let's start from the beginning, shall we? The story.
It started in October. Like a freezing cold presence come round me. And like I could feel like something, like all my legs, like touch me, like all my legs. Yeah, and I like get these cobwebs like over my face and that.
There are certain situations where straightforward poltergeist phenomena, like things flying about, water happening, fires happening, all those sorts of things.
Well, we ain't out like that.
I know, you won't either. I see a parallel between your case and my case.
Yeah, but what about this what's round her all the time then?
Well, that's because she's very, very sensitive. Why should psychokinetic activity happen round me?
No, but
all the
she
time?
can sit in that chair and say, if it's you, Sean, touch my hand.
Yeah, no.
And someone touches her hand.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough.
And you've said that, yeah.
So what's your interpretation?
That it's Sean about.
Well, I know there's somebody there, but I don't know.
Well, okay, but you see, in the end, it must be with you. If you believe that is your son, then so be it. What else are you looking for? I think we'd better go back to the beginning of the story about your son.
He took the car out to his mates down Castleford, and then when he got to Ferrybridge Power Station, he's coming round this bend and he hit a little bridge in a field where he went off-road. And then police come and told us that this could be our lad. So we went to hospital and see him to identify him and then put him on life support machine. What's up, so? Nobody knows these things till they've gone through it, do they?
Oh, goodness, it's the most terrible thing. I mean, for parents to be here, you say to yourself, why am I here? My child's not. Well, you know what you're feeling.
I know we're supposed to go first, aren't we?
That's it. That's it. It's the most terrible thing. It's against nature.
Yeah.
I feel for you. You don't know how much. Very emotional about it, I might tell you. And I'm not usually an emotional person. But I know how you're feeling. Terrible. It brings it all back to me. In fact, sitting here talking to you brings it all back to me. Terrible. Betty and I are having a little get-together this evening with our oldest friends. We've all been together now for most of our lives.
Will he tell you the absolute truth? I said, of course he does. I said, what he tells me is the absolute truth. He said, well, had he seen a ghost? So I said, I think he has. Oh, he said, what time was it?
He said what?
What time was it? Marilyn, Oliver, Jonathan, all grown. They're growing so big, all of them, you know.
I know.
Yes.
What have you been doing with yourself, Harold?
Well, nothing special really, just keeping my mind occupied, doing some gardening.
This photograph was taken in about 1936. That's Julius, the one who died on the right. There's Ralph in the centre, and me posing like Charles Atlas. Yes, that was when we used to go to camp once a year. Gave us good training for the army.
You were a captain?
I was, yes.
A captain? sergeant in the Rifle Brigade, a glider pilot at Arnhem, captain in the Royal Artillery,
acting major,
captain acting major in the Royal Artillery,
and a major
acting lieutenant colonel in the RASC.
I find intensive care in most of the hospitals is immaculate.
But never.
They
Not
try,
for
they
anything else.
try.
But never.
They try.
Mixed.
But the ordinary wards,
Intensive care is mixed.
the ordinary wards are diabolical.
Jerry, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say was when Alice was in a coma.
What?
She
Mixed
was put in
wards are
intensive
terrible.
care.
It's a long
Very
time
few.
ago, Jerry.
20 years.
Yes.
One of the questions I'm often asked is, how do I investigate a poltergeist case? And not how I particularly investigate it perhaps, but how does anybody investigate a poltergeist case? Let me say it's not easy. It's very difficult indeed. First thing that happens, of course, it's usually a cry for help. Somebody rings the society, or may even get on to me personally and tell me that they've got some activity going on which is they find extremely disturbing, and would I come along and help them. The first thing that one has to do is determine whether the case is genuine or not. It's important to listen very carefully to what the people have got to say.
The little girl used to be locked in the attic by her father when she had a fit. And we found that this door had a bolt on it.
The bolt is on the outside?
Yes, it is odd, isn't it?
Oh.
We use it as a box room
Yes.
because no one wants to come in here, and it is extremely cold.
Oh, it is cold in here, isn't it?
Don't trip up.
Very cold indeed. My God, this is rather spooky to say the least.
Laid in bed quite comfortable, and all at once I saw this thing come through the window, and she was just going like this, doing this, as if feeling her way to go somewhere. I not a bit afraid, and I was absolutely fascinated to watch her. And she just turned off and went straight through the shut door, closed door. I've never experienced anything like it.
It's not just houses that are haunted. The pilot who flew this Lincoln bomber said he would haunt it after his death. Strange noises have been recorded over a period of years from inside the cockpit that have nothing to do with metal fatigue.
Now that was a sound close to the microphone. That was actually in the aircraft.
That's quite a strong one. As is often the case, nothing conclusive happened. Sometimes I work with a younger set of investigators who are particularly keen on all-night vigils using high-tech equipment. I brought along my camcorder and thermos flask. You're basically using this evening the temperature sensors and cameras?
Yeah, we have cameras.
And,
we have an infrared camera upstairs as well.
You've got an infrared camera, yes.
We also have a Geiger counter to measure
you
background
have?
gamma radiation. Yeah. And correlative digital thermometers as well, just to double check for accuracy.
But supposing the ghost makes it malfunction.
Well, I find it immensely hard to justify why 3 or 4 digital thermometers should malfunction at exactly the same time on independent power sources. Everyone synchronise watches, please.
Mine says 11:36.
Oh, sorry, yeah, red one on.
Right, I'm going upstairs and
Right, broken
I've got the Geiger counter.
John Wall room.
The Geiger counter established that the most radioactive thing in the building was me.
Yeah, just put some logs on the fire.
Okay.
Members of my society work closely with mediums to test their abilities. I am not a spiritualist, but I believe that we must work together.
Spirit who comes to us, be friendly and protect us from any that would wish us evil.
Is anybody there?
If there is, would they please spell out yes?
No. Life after death. We by our individual would have helped you with your investigations.
At heart, I'm a skeptic, but there's nothing more convincing than an actual recorded incident. Sometimes you get lucky.
What we'll do is we'll try and do the first vigil starting at, let's say, 11:40.
Right, I think we can get to work, don't you? We're going up to the long gallery, aren't we? And this is where we're doing the vigil tonight. Various groups are going in various rooms. As it happens, this particular room is set out for a chess tournament which is taking place this weekend.
Okay, Maurice, I'm just going to turn the lights up and we'll get the vigil underway.
Right, okay. Yes, well, I'll sit here by the fireplace since you've been having some phenomena around here. How many vigils have you done here?
Here I've done 6.
You've done 6 here? Well, what actually have you seen or heard here?
Orchestral music and also the piano playing. The time that I heard the piano playing, I was actually doing the vigil with a couple of girls. And when I heard the music, I jumped up thinking that everybody had heard it because it was so loud. But they say they never heard the music, and as far as I'm concerned, it was as loud as I am talking to you now. What we'll do now is that I'll go to the far end of the room, we'll turn the lights up and see what happens.
I settled in for a long night, waiting patiently for nothing to happen, as usual. But then... What's that? Here we are.
Is this recording?
Yeah, but shine the camera. Well, I certainly didn't because I was just sitting here and I was almost dozing. It came with tremendous force. Yeah. And if you thrown it, the cup would have broken and the pieces would have shot at least, I would guess, another 6 foot.
Admittedly, I could sit here and I could have thrown it, but if I'd have thrown it, as you said before, the pieces would have ended up halfway down the hall.
But it appears that the cup came from above, dropped down, and actually thrown heavily, do you agree, onto the floor?
I totally agree. The amount of force that was behind that, the noise it made, the acoustic noise it made, it came from above with a great deal of force.
I think it's incredible that we've got it actually on film. Very lucky indeed. We'll go down and tell them what it's all about now. Right, ladies and gents, it all happened. Did you hear it? Oh, you did hear it. Oh, that's interesting.
23 minutes past 12.
That's it. Where were you?
We were in the grand salon.
Yeah, now, is it one of your cups?
Well, I don't recognise it as one that we would regularly use. I'm not suggesting that it's never been in the building because there are various cups around. But if it was up, I don't know how it was upstairs because it wouldn't be one that we would use for the public. It might be one that I might, and it doesn't fit in, does it?
We haven't got all of it here anyway, so...
I think it is all there.
No, there's not a full pack there. There's bits missing.
Isn't there? But where's the other bit then?
We'll go out and have a little search.
What did it sound like to you?
It sounded to me, if I was sitting with anything, it sounded to me like a light bulb breaking on the floor, like shattering glass. It's definitely something made of glass or concrete shattering.
You reckon it was on the floor, did you?
Did anybody get to the cup quickly?
Oh yes, because I shouted out, "What the hell's that?" And we sort of jumped up and got to the cup.
Did you pick it up at all? Feel anything?
Oh, when I left it, we photographed it and then picked it up.
Right, so.
Got it on film. Yeah. You can hear. I mean, you heard it, didn't you? Hell of a crash. Night, folks. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Many thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for putting the show on.
Don't know, was it us putting the show on or you?
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Do you think it was a show?
No, certainly not. I mean, it's the real stuff. That's the real thing. No, we don't very often get that, and we very rarely get it on camera. We've been very lucky tonight, very lucky indeed, to get that. Because you might have just had the camera turned off at that moment. But there we are. This is not the first time in my life I've witnessed objects materialising, apparently out of thin air. In parapsychology, this phenomenon is called an apport. This teacup apport that came in Charlton House when we were there and smashed on the ground is very exciting indeed. But it has a parallel with an apport we had in the Enfield poltergeist case, when 3 stones actually appeared in the room in front of me when I was on my own there. They all fit together to make one perfect stone. Can't hold the camera and put them together, but there we are. So there we have very similar apports, that is, objects appearing to come from nowhere and crashing into the room. I'm going to put it to my committee, tell them what happened, and see what their reactions are.
It's a good colour.
Excuse me, that does not. You don't know anything about trajectories. I was a gunnery officer.
Well,
trajectories, excuse me, go like this. Trajectories go like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that, and it means you've got to.
So it starts off on a low angle, and then
yes,
when it falls,
or you get up close and you do it as though you're a mortar and go up like that.
I think we'll all have to hide our eyes and hope for the
All right, go and do it. But you can't throw it up in the air because nobody could have thrown it up in the air.
Why?
Because there's nobody there to do it. The other man is 20 foot away.
We're positing that there is somebody you don't know about throwing it.
But there's nobody else.
Somebody crept in from that other.
Oh, don't be so silly. Mary Rose, don't be so silly. There's a proper vigil going on and everybody in the house is accounted for. All you've got to do... All you've got...
I think we should sacrifice a cup in all.
Report to council. Breaking cups.
Well, I'm telling you what happened.
Well, we don't have a hard surface, do we? Well, I'm afraid of that glass.
Go on, throw. Thank you very much.
This is unbreakable.
You have to learn to live with scepticism in this business. I've got an old friend, Uri Geller. He's been at the receiving end of more than most. Oh, hello, Uri.
Maurice, hi, how are
Nice
you?
to see you. Lovely
You're
to see you.
filming, huh?
Yes.
Come on in.
I'm filming.
You know, you caught me exactly exercising,
Have I?
so
Oh.
come follow me, come on.
Right, okay.
Come up to my exercise room. You know, there's a routine I do
Yeah.
that I don't, interrupt that for anything in the world.
No? Oh, well.
And even if you would have come with the Queen of England,
Yeah.
with all my respect, I will continue to exercise.
Okay, fine.
Come in here. It's a small room, so just...
Wonderful. Oh,
Yeah. It's really discipline.
Yeah,
It's devotion.
yeah,
It's concentration.
yeah.
And it's mind over matter.
Yeah.
It's actually mind power.
Yeah.
To will yourself to do this every day for 20 years, that's willpower.
Well, I remember the last time I saw you, you were on your bicycle.
That's right.
You make me feel tired. Just watching.
Do you have enough light here?
Yes, plenty of light, yes.
Follow me.
How old is he? How old is the little
He's
one?
just a few months old.
Oh, he's gorgeous,
This
isn't
is
he?
Joker. Joker. Mwah.
Oh, isn't he gorgeous?
See, animals are just like human beings.
I know that.
I
I'm
mean,
an animal lover myself.
Have you ever seen my car? Ready?
Yes.
Ta-da-da-dam!
Oh my God. Oh, goodness me. God, Adam.
See, it brought a smile on your face. These
I'll say.
5,000 bent spoons and forks on it. Many of them were bent with my abilities, my powers. See the side, it says peace in many different languages.
Oh,
Shalom
yes.
in Hebrew.
Yes.
In Arabic, in Chinese, French, Spanish. Actually, just came back from the Museum of Israel, where it was exhibited right next to the Dead Sea Scrolls and Henry Moore's. So
Yes.
I'm quite, honored. That, by the way,
Yes.
the rock crystal was given to me by Salvador Dali.
Was it really?
Yes, I bent a fork for him, and it freaked him out, and he locked himself in this was in a hotel in Barcelona, 48 hours, and no one could get him out. In the end, he sort of came out emerging with this rock crystal globe, and he handed it to me. All right.
Yeah, lovely.
I collect little things. This is a Shabtai doll that is 4,000 years old. I just glued it to the crystal, but this materialized in a cabinet in Rome when we were having dinner in a woman's house. She heard a clang, and this appeared. I couldn't believe it myself. And then I took it to the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and they validated it as 4,000 years old. I collect
That's some
things
present, isn't it? 4,000 years old.
See, I collect things that materialize. Okay, as you can see, this is just a very simple boat compass. I mean, I could do it to yours, your compass too. It was chewed by my dog here. You can see that. So I'll just show you what I do. And you can see there's nothing on me, of course, and
I can see that.
you can look into my mouth, my hair, my hands. I'll move these away. And what I do is I take a deep breath and then try to focus my powers, my energies into the compass. Because it's a delicate instrument, hopefully it'll move. But you help me do it.
No, I help you
1,
do it.
2, 3, move! Go, 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 go! Look at that. Did you see how many degrees it moved?
Yes, I did.
And this is real.
Almost 5 degrees.
This is
very good.
Now you can imagine for scientists when they lay out magnetometers and electrometers and all those things.
Just show your hands to the camera.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
Let's try it together, shall we?
Okay.
Let's try it together.
1, 2, 3, move! Go! 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 No, it's less now because I'm tired.
I realise.
If I do it again, it's going to be now less and less because it drains me. I hope you saw it move.
Yes, no question.
Okay, now
I'd like you to just tell me something, because we all suffer in parapsychology. We all suffer from the skeptics.
Yes.
What do you think about the attitude of some of the skeptics?
Well, for many years I decided I ignored them because I always followed that old sentence that said, no matter what they write about you, as long as they'll spell your name correctly, it's always good. Now, up to a point, it is true. But when very serious libel and lies were written, and suddenly I became a father, I said, enough is enough. And then I did take, some of my very vicious critics to court, and I won.
I mean, I've got my own ideas about the criticisms that are levelled at me.
Yes.
But what do you think is the reason for this vicious attack on people who are involved in psychic research?
One is jealousy and envy. 2 is fanatism, extreme disbelief. 3, which is the main thing, money. The critics make money off you by attacking you. You understand me?
I do understand, because I've actually heard this said before.
Yeah, they lecture,
yes,
blah, blah, it goes on. But it's the minority, Maurice. Do you understand?
I know they're a minority, yes.
And let's face it, who wants to be negative? Who wants to make their living out of negativity? Poor people. I'm sorry for these people. And I, in a way, I don't want to use these harsh materialistic terms, but I laughed all the way to the bank at the end of the day, because what I did, what I did is I said, well, I mean, if you don't believe, it's your problem. I will just go on with my life. I will branch my powers into other areas like divining and dowsing, finding oil and gold. I will continue writing my books and do my TV shows, and I will ignore the side that keeps bombarding us. We want more proof, but do it under these conditions. Do you understand me?
My experiences have been too strong. I mean, my personal experiences as a paranormal, I couldn't be a disbeliever if I wanted to, because of the things that have happened to me.
Exactly,
I mean, particularly.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying.
But you see, it's very difficult for people to believe who have never experienced anything.
I know.
They don't understand what you're actually talking about. You see, if it doesn't relate to their physical world, they don't understand what you're saying. To them, to these people, it's pure imagination that's at work, and of course we know that it's not.
Yeah, I know. And let me tell you, I always adored you.
Thank you.
I respected you.
Oh, thank you.
I thought that you are like a tank. You are that vehicle that no one can stop, and I mean that in a very look at me.
Very kind of
I'm
you
not
to
saying
say.
this to I'm not saying this to compliment
Very kind of you to say.
Every time I read your articles and people that told me about you, I mean, you were like a thrusting. You were just going there, head on, and you were giving it to them, and you still are.
Yes,
and let me tell you, I know you from, if I'm not mistaken, from 1975 or 6.
1976.
You haven't changed a bit.
Thank you.
You look youngish.
Well,
you radiate positiveness, and look at you. I bet that you're a happy man.
Oh yes, I am.
Aren't you?
Yes, of course I am.
Now you put a skeptic in your seat. He won't tell you that he's a happy. Yeah, they lie.
I'm a happy man. I've enjoyed life. I've enjoyed my family. I've enjoyed.
But through your little amateurish camera here, it is, although it's for Channel 2, is it? On BBC. We are reaching at least 1 million, maybe 2 million people, and you people out there hear us talk. We're not trying to convince you forcefully. We're just telling you, hey, just open up your mind just a little, and good things will happen to you. Because people who believe, are opening their minds to possibilities that you haven't even thought in your loveliest dream. That will come to you sooner or later, because we're open-minded.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Thank you very much. I intended to do a whole range of tests on the Crashing Cup episode, but in the meantime I went back to Yorkshire. I had to make a second visit to the couple who had photographed their dead son on their television set. The man now believed it might be a picture of his dead mother's face appearing on their television. I approached them filled with my own questions about their case. Hello, hello, nice to see you again.
Yes.
Let's trip up on the step. Perhaps you'll hold the camera for a while for me. Hello.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to see you
Hello.
again. And this is from...
National Enquirer.
Oh, this is the American paper, National Enquirer. And this one is Story of the Week from Woman's Realm.
Yeah.
Right, another story. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't even remember speaking to this magazine. People are always quoting me about something or other. I know nothing about it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. What I'm interested in is what I see, and I suppose you're interested in my opinions.
Yeah.
Well, providing I take your word that the television was off, they're very strange photographs indeed. And there is a resemblance in both of them. One of the photographs could be interpreted as your son,
Yeah, definitely.
and one could be interpreted as your mother-in-law. And add that to the fact that you say you have these strong feelings and strong contact with your son, and if that's what you believe.
Well, I've got my own beliefs on it, and I know he's round me all the time because I can feel him like holding my hand and touching me and that, and with photographs we've got, that's all proof that what we need.
It's not for me to say no. I can assure you that. because of the things I've had happen to me, especially recently.
Yeah.
I should be the last person to say no.
Yeah.
All I can say to you is that your interpretation could very well be correct.
Yeah.
The only thing I could say is be careful not to go over the top.
No.
And start interpreting everything that happens as paranormal, because that is a trap you could fall into. Whatever I believed, the important thing is what they believed. Who am I to pass judgment on that? The workings of the mind are so complex that to convince other people you have experienced the paranormal, you must have evidence that can be tested. And the evidence must pass the test. This is Chris Walton and Les Herbert. Now Les was in the room with us, and Chris was in charge of the whole operation. Now first of all, Chris, how many people were on this vigil that night? 11 people were on the vigil, right. Now, how do I know that there wasn't some joker in the pack who literally came in, opened the door, threw the cup in the room, then ran out?
Everybody that was here was a member of our vigil teams, and they're people we trust.
Yeah.
And that we know.
Were they all accounted for in their rooms?
All accounted for at the time the cup was broken.
Now, what is the chance of some joker who was in the house before hiding himself? In one of the rooms that we were doing the vigil in?
While you were actually doing the ill-guided tour, I went around the entire house and checked every single room, checked places that not a lot of people know about in this house, and ruled out the fact there could be anybody else in there.
You've done how many vigils in this house?
In this house, I've lost count, probably getting on for about 20.
Have you really? So you know the house very well?
I know the house better than most people.
So again, I'm going to ask you the question, is there any likelihood that anybody could have hidden themselves anywhere in this room?
In this room, absolutely no chance at all. As far as I'm concerned, there's no way anybody could hide themselves in the house.
Let's look at the alternative.
There's a chip on it, like the Grosse.
There's not even a chip on it. You're ready? Right, okay, lovely. Lovely. He now threw it down onto the floor with force. And look what happened. Now, will you please measure the distance those pieces have gone for me? How far?
It's got to be around 11 foot.
Right, so in actual fact, that cup broke within
a 12-foot radius.
Something was very peculiar about the sound of the apple cup crashing compared to the sound of similar cups we had just tested. I took the tapes to the BBC sound experts for analysis.
On a first hearing, it does sound much more than a cup, because you'd expect just the little tinkle of the cup, and that has a very, very bass sound to it. It's like a big thump or an explosion or something. It's also very loud.
Does it sound like a cup exploding?
Quite possibly, yes, it does. There is something else there. There's a big thump. There's a very low bass sound, which you just wouldn't expect, and which you don't get from this.
It's very interesting indeed. I think it may begin to prove our point that it was a paranormal apple. Well, I'm sure it was, but still, other people are not so convinced. The more we establish a solid body of scientific evidence, the less likely it is that ordinary people like Shirley from Watford will suffer ridicule. This is a big day for her. I think that finally she's going to take my advice and get rid of her padlocks. Hello, Mrs. Burford, how are you?
Sweeping your palm, there's a good boy. Let me pick him up.
Hello.
Bin.
Hello, young man. Hello.
Hello, look, what's that?
And here's the wardrobe all locked up. Every day, every night.
That noise. Sounds like a jailer. Right. Here we go.
How have you been?
I've got my act together now. When I was ill, after I saw you, I was cracking up. I mean, there was no getting away from it. I mean,
you were in a fairly bad state.
Yeah, and I think I probably got worse after that. I got to stage where I didn't want to go to work because I didn't want to go out the house. I mean, the job I've got now, I love. It's only a sweet shop. It's the best thing I could have done.
Yes.
It's opened up a whole new life for me. And I'm a different person. I've got my life back. I just can't explain how different I am.
Well, I hope that you're glad it's all over now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, we hope it's all over.
Well,
anyway.
I hope so, yes.
I think it probably is all over now.
I mean, I don't think I felt this at ease for a long while.
Oh, I'm very pleased that you do.
You know.
I've been able to help you in this respect.
You know, I can't say I'm 100%, obviously, because there are times when you think, oh, you know, I felt good before and we've unlocked things and then it's happened again after, you know, quite a considerable time. So obviously this is always, you know, on the back of your mind, but I just like to see an end to it, just get back to normal life.
Good. If you think I'm a stupid old fool chasing poltergeists all over Britain, that's your problem, not mine. The truth is that paranormal events happen to nearly everyone at some stage in their lives. Think about your own life, or people close to you. You may begin to see what I mean. I believe that one of the biggest problems with our subject is the very word we use, the paranormal. It conjures up all sorts of images, and it is a strange word because when you think about it, if a thing happens in this physical world we live in this universe, it must be normal. The problem is we don't understand it, and therefore we call it paranormal. We've only got 5 senses, and all the instruments that we have designed and we use are built to respond with those 5 senses. But if there are other things in this universe, other dimensions, it doesn't mean to say that they don't exist because we don't understand them. They're out there. They do exist because over the last 100 years and more, we have amassed an enormous amount of solid evidence that paranormal activity does actually exist. And we may be on the brink of great discoveries. Discoveries, I believe, that will make all the difference to man's outlook. We may understand life a lot better, and we may understand what death is all about.